Hey everyone, Mike here, Rusty Garage and Homestead. Welcome back to the channel. Today we have something pretty exciting going on. We're going to start our introduction to chainsaw milling. Now I have looked all throughout the internet reading different reviews for different companies that make chainsaw mills, and there always seems to be one that comes out on top. So y'all go ahead and leave a comment down below if you can guess who manufactures the best chainsaw mill in the US. So let's go check it out. All right, everyone, if you guessed Granberg International for who makes the best chainsaw mill here in the US, you're right. And I looked all over the internet, read all sorts of different reviews. I kept coming back to Granberg for a few different reasons. Granberg is a family-owned company. It is made here in the US. All the reviews I can find on Granberg's mills and all their equipment that they make is highly rated. I cannot find anything that people have really anything bad to say about these mills, the quality of them, how they operate, and how it is to do business with Granberg. So I ended up reaching out to Granberg International, asking them about a mill, telling them kind of what I'm wanting to do. I'm wanting to start kind of a series on a beginner. I've never chainsaw milled. I've never ran a bandsaw mill or circular sawmill or anything like that. I've never sawmilled anything. So I felt that a chainsaw mill would be a great step to get me going and get through some of this timber I have around here for some different projects that I want to make. So I ended up reaching out to Granberg International, and I actually got a hold of Lindsay Granberg, which is their marketing manager. And she asked me all sorts of questions about kind of what I'm wanting to do, how big a saw I have to run it. And we chatted back and forth, and she came up with the mill that she thinks and I think would work the best for me. So it really felt like a company that wasn't just trying to sell you a product. They actually wanted to match a product that would fit your equipment and work best for you. So Lindsay ended up sending me out a Mark IV Alaskan chainsaw mill, the Alaskan winch, their easy rail system, and a ripper chain for my 660. That's the saw we're going to be using to do our milling with. I think it paired up great. I've got a 36-inch bar. I really wasn't wanting to go any bigger than that. I think she told me with the 660 you could end up going up to a 48-inch mill. I don't really have anything that big. I think a 36 is going to do more than I need to. So let's get this thing opened up, unboxed, and laid out so we can start getting this thing put together and kind of see what they sent us. Because I want to do some milling here very soon and start getting this thing broke in. Okay, let's see what's in here. First up, the Alaskan winch system. I really think from all the research I've done whenever I really started looking into chainsaw milling, if you can get a winch system on your mill, that is going to make it a lot easier, and it's going to make your cuts look a lot better because you can keep an even pressure as you're pulling the saw through the log. Okay, we have the Granberg ripping chain. This is a 3/8 standard profile. Sharpening angle looks like it's going to be a 10 degree on this. We're looking forward to trying this thing out too. Okay, got some stickers from Granberg. I'm just being careful. I'm trying not to make a mess with the packing peanuts. So let's go ahead and get the mill picked up out of here. Perfect. All right, we have the Mark IV chainsaw mill, 36-inch. We do have a paper for the ripper chain care and maintenance guide on that, so we'll be reading through that as well. And we have a, looks like it's going to be Granberg International t-shirt. Got their logo up there and on the back. So cool. Okay, and we also have in this box right here is the easy rail system. We'll put it together separately after we put the mill together, but from everything I've seen, you're going to need some sort of guide system for your first cut to make sure that you are making a flat cut. The easy rail system looks like it is fairly easy to use. I know a lot of people use ladders. Granberg also offers another system that will actually screw to some 2x4s or whatever kind of board you want to use that as your straight edge. So let me get this stuff moved around and we will start working on this chainsaw mill. Okay. Let me lay this down. Probably the best way to slide some of the stuff out of here. Okay. Oh, it does come with a scrunch. You can't have too many scrunches, and this one is painted orange. That's the color I like to paint on my scrunches anyways, just because if you drop them out in the woods, they stick out really well. And that's something else, from my understanding, all the hex-headed nuts that are on this, a scrunch works for tightening them up or adjusting or anything like that. So that's pretty cool that they sent one with it. Okay, we do have a instruction manual, and inside that it looks like there's a letter that Granberg sends out, thank you letter, and also a catalog for some of the different mills and accessories and different things that they offer is also in here. We've got our rails, we've got these. This is part of the bar clamp handle. When I'm getting ready to assemble something, I like to lay everything out just so I know what's what. Do get an Allen wrench for those, but I do like to lay everything out and go through the manual just to make sure I'm not missing anything and have a fairly decent understanding of what I'm fixing to get myself into. Okay, I'm just going through. Some of these washers look like they are thicker, so I'm just separating those out real quick. 9 in that stack as well. So you can see, thicker, thinner. There's 9 of each. Then we've got 4 smaller locking washers, which are going to obviously be for these Allen headed bolts, and 2 lock washers. Let's move some of this around. Now, both of these bars that will actually come down and hook to the chainsaw bar, they have engraved very clearly to see all your designations on your height of how far you want to drop this down. So that is engraved into it. That's going to last as long as the tool lasts, but it makes it easy to see how deep you're going with your cut. So on the very first page of the instructions, it does give a breakdown for what parts are included, how many there should be, and all that, and it's got an exploded view of how this thing is assembled. So that helps. And also, you can watch my video on how we're going to assemble this, but there's a QR code when you purchase this that you can look up a video on how to assemble this thing. Okay, so I've read through this instruction manual. At the end of it, it does kind of give you some different ways or different steps to take for actually using the mill, not just assembly, but being able to use it. Talks about curve logs and different things like that. I am impressed with their instruction manual having pictures and clear and concise instructions on it, so that will help. We're just going to follow along with this and start getting this mill put together. So it looks like the first thing we need to start with is these, they call it a handle boss. So these pieces here are aluminum. Everything is cleaned up real nice. Everything's engraved. Threads look good. The milling looks good. Overall quality looks really good on this. So it does tell us on the torque, on the clamping bolts, no more than 10 or 12 foot-pounds. So that's good to know. But these will be the first pieces we're going to start with. And it looks like we need these pieces here. It does say to make sure the slot is facing outward. We're going to put those there with these little Allen bolts that we've got here. Lock washers. We've got 2 there, 2 there. And the included Allen wrench for these. So let's go ahead and start getting these put together. Now all this stuff we are going to leave, we're not going to tighten all of this. We're going to leave it, we're going to run everything up almost snug, but we're going to leave it loose until we get everything assembled. Look at this. They took the time to go back and chamfer this edge where it's been tapped to make it easier for assembly. There's a lot of manufacturers and companies that wouldn't put that kind of detail in something that they're manufacturing. Okay, so we're done with these parts for right now. Just set these over to the side. Next part is going to be this, the handle, your grip, and this little strap here. Okay, so it looks like we need to start with 2 carriage bolts. Slide up in here, just like so. Then put this tie strap on. Looks like here. there and there. And then we'll put the handle on right over here. Do need a lock washer. And then we need a coupling nut. That is the coupling nut. It's a lot longer nut than your regulars. So we'll put the coupling nut here. And then we need the lock washer and a regular nylon nut for this one back here. So I just want to check, make sure that the scrunch does work on this. And it does. Let's check the coupling nut. Same deal, it does. Again, I don't want to tighten everything real tight. I'm going to run that in a little closer. I'm going to use a regular wrench. And if y'all want to know what size these are, okay, so the size is going to be a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. It's going to be the same difference. I'm going to use this ratcheting wrench just to help speed up my process. So that's still a little loose. That's still a little loose. The lock washer is not compressed yet. So this is together. Set it up out of the side. Okay, so the next step is these long rails here. They call a thickness rail. We want to take them and hook both of these up to each side. So we're going to need 4 carriage bolts. I'm going to have to move some of this stuff around so I can have area to work. But it's going to take 4 carriage bolts, 4 flat washers, and 4 of the hex nuts. And it does say in here to finger tight them. You're going to need 4 of those, 4 of those, and 4 of those. Okay, so we've got our rails here. Let's go ahead and slide some carriage bolts down here in the end. Like so. And it looks like these will go like that. Put a flat washer on each one. And the locking nut. Just put on there finger tight for now. Get this other side put together. Carriage bolt. Okay, that's together. Flat washers and nylon locking nuts. Again, I'm going to run these down, but I'm not going to tighten them. Okay, we do need to slide these off the end real easy, just like so, because I do need to put a carriage bolt further in like that, because the handle is going to end up getting mounted right up in here. So let me get this slid back on. Nice and easy. Okay, so these carriage bolts in here that it wants us to put in. Slide that on. And that one. And it says to use 2 flat washers and 2 of the coupling nuts, and to make sure this is square when we put it in here. Okay, so missing this is why you read instructions fully. I read that step, I didn't read the last little bit of it. It did say to go ahead and put this on these thickening rails and to square it before you tighten it. So when you got a square, let's get this thing tight. We'll just kind of go back and forth easily till we get that thing snug and square. But I think before I do that as well, I'm going to find a big square to put on this outside to make sure both of these rails are square, because you can see I can slide these rails back and forth a little. So it really isn't going to do much good if this is square right here and these are offset. I mean, I'm being a little drastic with it. I'm pretty sure a person could probably eyeball this and get it pretty close, but we're here, we just well make it square. Okay, couldn't find the exact square I wanted, but I've got this big 12-inch speed square, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead and lay it up underneath. Get it lined up here on the very end. That is pretty good. Okay. Okay, that is snug and square. You can see I'm on this rail down here. That is square for that rod there. So now that that's stuck, we can work on sliding this back. Then we'll tighten this one up, and that should kind of lock a lot of it in place. Okay, that is really close. Double check. We are still square. And this is locked together fairly decent now. Okay, so now we want to get these a little more snug. And I'm going to go ahead and just flush them up on the ends since we are square, and just kind of snug these down a little bit more. And I'm not getting crazy tight with any of this because we're still probably going to have to move some of it. Okay, we've got it oriented just like they do in the instructions, and it says that the left bracket is going to be the thrust end and the right bracket will be the nose end. Okay, the next step, we're going to take this slide handle and slide it through the handle bosses, which are these aluminum pieces here and here. And we want to make it flush with the thrust end over on this side. And we'll need our Allen wrench. Make sure it's flush. It does say to tighten the ones on the thrust end and leave those ones loose on that side for now. Okay, that's probably tight enough. And the next step, we've got these two U-bolts, one over here, and then these brackets here. And then we need two coupling nuts on each side and two flat washers. Now, these will slide up here on the U-bolts, just like that. And then we'll take these and slide them in the end of this plate, like so. See, they're going to slide in right through the center. These will be your clamps for your pieces up here to set your height. So let's get that put in there. Our two flat washers on each one, and then we'll put a coupling nut on it. That end's on. Let's get this one done now. This bracket goes in the U-bolt. The machining on this is extremely nice. They did a good job with all of this. Slide that in there. Our two flat washers and our two coupling nuts. Okay, now obviously you do want to leave those loose because we'll need to slide our other pieces up in there. So next, we're going to take this one that has the slide edge, is I guess what I would call it. We're going to take that piece, find the bottom piece that fits it, like so. And then we need to get our longer bolts, some flat washers, and put this together. Now this end, thrust side, we'll do the same thing with this piece. You've got the bottom part, and then you've got this nose shield that'll go in between it. This end piece, I looked, it is showing the numbers to be pointing to the outside. That was a question I was having, or asking myself which side it would go on. Okay. So the nose guard is on. This is getting tightened. Or not tightened, but we're going to run it up with our fingers as much as we can. Now that the mill is assembled, we're going to slide the nose guard end up through here. We're going to tighten these up just a little bit more. I'm going to set it for now on 4 inches. This etching that they put in this pipe really helps. I mean, it's a fairly precise engraving on there, not real wide, lines up real nice with your plate up here, so you can kind of see where you're at. Now that 4 inches is on the top side of this. Obviously that's not going to be a 4-inch slab because you're going to be dealing with the bottom of this rail to your bar. That's going to be your actual height. I just put it in there at 4 just so I can kind of keep everything consistent for right now. So I'm going to flip this thing around and we'll get the thrust in put in. These are going to go towards the mill because this is what's going to help kind of slide along everything. When you tighten all this up, you want to make sure it's even. You don't want to tighten one a whole lot more than the other. So the other side was at 4 inches. This one, we're going to set it at the same right there, and we're going to snug this up. You want to turn these nuts equal on each side since this is a U-bolt, so it gets even tension Okay, so the last thing it's calling for is to put the rubber handle on here, and it does come with some plugs to put in this pipe here, and the tops of these stands, there's some square plugs to put in those. Okay, so here's your plastic plugs. These are just going to pop right in here, just to help keep some of the debris and everything out of that. And then you've got these round plugs here that are just going to pop in the end of this tube, just like that. Now the handle itself is just going to slide up onto this pipe, just like so. And I see a lot of people, that is where they store their scrunch at. They stick their scrunch right up here on the top, and that's where the scrunch stays. So if they need to do an adjustment on the chainsaw or on this mill, they got the tool right there to do it. Okay, so that is the basic assembly of the Granberg mill, and that's going to be the same whether you do the 36 inch, the 48, or whatever size. This is your basic assembly. So this is a 36 inch mill. That means it can accept up to a 36 inch bar. You can run a shorter bar. If I wanted to run my 24 inch VersaCut on here, I could. I would need to loosen both of these coupling nuts on this side so I could slide the handle in, and there's 3 bolts over here on this end plate where you could be able to slide that in to accept your nose guard to a shorter bar to get it all to fit. So you can run a shorter bar, you just cannot run a longer bar than what your mill is rated for. So if you bought a mill, this is how you put it together. It does have some instructions on adding the bar and tighten it down. You want to make sure you bring it down even. Now for us, we are going to backtrack a little bit because I do have the Alaskan winch that they sent with it that we're going to add to this. But that is going to be a different video for you guys, so stay tuned for that. If you are interested in a mill like this, I will leave links to their mill down in the description box, to their website. But if you enjoyed the video, guys, give the video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks.